Welcome, everyone. I'm Jasmine with DNL Farm and Home, and I'm joined today by Angela Fox, our equine specialist here at DNL, and Dr. Karen Davison from Purina Animal Nutrition was nice enough to join us again. This is part 3 in a 3-part series where we are learning about Purina's latest and greatest innovation and product and service, their Project MQ. In part 1, we talked about the equine microbiome and what that actually is and why it's important. And in part 2, we talked about probiotics and prebiotics and all the biotics and their role in the whole system of your horse and your horse's well-being. And then today, for part 3, we're going to talk a little bit more about and tie that all together and talk about the newest product that Purina is launching and a service to go with. So make sure if you haven't checked out parts 1 and 2, go give them a listen and a view. And then again, thank you, Dr. Karen, for joining us today. We're excited about this.
Oh, me too. Hi, Jasmine and Angela and everyone else that's listening. And I'm so excited to be able to bring this to you today. And kind of, as Jasmine said, we've worked up to this, and the whole goal is to introduce you to this microbiome quotient and help you understand it. And our saying right now is sometimes the big breakthrough is smaller than you think. And in this case, it's microscopic. So that's, I'm going to show a quick video and then we'll talk a little bit more about all this fun. Okay, so hopefully this works.
Have you ever wondered what's happening inside your horse that you can't see? At the center of your horse's health and performance, deep inside the gut, lies the mysterious and dynamic microbiome, crucial to its well-being. Home to billions of microorganisms working together in a delicate balance, breaking down feed and forages, and extracting essential nutrients to help fuel your horse's most critical functions. But it's not just about nutrient digestion. It's about resilience when your horse faces challenges. Factors like training, travel, or stress from demanding performance schedules can knock the microbiome out of balance and knock your horse off their game. Understanding what constitutes a healthy balance in a horse's microbiome remained a mystery until now. Welcome to the Purina Microbiome Quotient Platform, built on over a decade of research at the Purina Animal Nutrition Center. Through thousands of samples collected from horses in all 50 states, with bacterial DNA sequenced and analyzed, creating our incredibly robust equine microbiome database. Now, we can see inside the equine microbiome and help unlock the mystery by showing how our research can impact your horse's overall health. As part of the Purina MQ platform, we have created an at-home test kit for horse owners that gets to the center of your own horse's unique microbiome, with personalized nutrition recommendations to help bring the microbiome into balance. To help optimize health and performance, the Purina MQ platform is helping to solve the mystery of the microbiome and finding revolutionary new ways to support it. Discover the power of the Purina Microbiome Quotient platform at mq.purinamills.com.
So exciting, right? We're really proud of all this. A lot of work has gone into the MQ microbiome quotient. And just to help make sure you understand what that means, the term MQ kind of came from, a lot of us are familiar with IQ, you know, how smart you are, and EQ, your emotional quotient, how intelligent you are emotionally. And then the MQ, or the microbiome quotient, is about microbiome intelligence, what you know about the microbiome. And we've been asked, as we've started introducing this to people, like, what's MQ? Is it a product? Is it a service? What exactly is it? And the answer is yes, it's all the above. It's a very robust database. Horse owners helped us build over the years, where we have learned more about the horse's microbiome than has ever been known before. We'll continue to do ongoing research in this platform or in this space. But what we've got now that's come out in this June, is the microbiome testing kit and a new probiotic supplement. And then we'll continue to do research. And you'll see products and things come out of this MQ or microbiome quotient from Purina. So you may wonder why in the world we spend all this time doing all this research. What's the big deal? Probiotics are nothing new. They're out there. There's lots of them, lots of different options. And I think that's part of why we did a lot of this research, is because probiotics are a bit challenging. If you remember from the earlier sessions we had, probiotics technically are supposed to be live microorganisms that can exhibit a health benefit. And so when you really start digging into that space and you start going, well, there's lots of probiotics, but there's not many that actually survive manufacturing to make the product or are shelf stable, so to speak. There's not many that survive the acidic environment of the stomach, and there's not many that we can get a measurable effect on the animal with. So being Purina, you see that little logo in the lower right-hand corner there, the test ride. This is what we put every product we develop through, is this test ride. It's kind of our guiding philosophy that whatever we come out with is research-based, meaning there's research in horses, that the ingredients in the product actually do what they're supposed to do, and they're in there in the delivered amount that is needed to make a difference in the horse. And then that E in the test ride is for efficacy, that you can actually see, or your horse will feel a difference, or you'll see a difference by using it. So this test ride was part of the hurdle for so many of the probiotics and things we were trying to investigate and try to find that actually did anything that we could measure in the horse. So our approach to this is we had to start out with you see across the top there, we needed to characterize the horse's microbiome. Some of you may have heard of the Human Microbiome Project, and that was an effort to characterize the human microbiome. While there was good research out there, there wasn't a tremendous amount of research. And so reviewing the literature and then working in our own research, we've been able to finally come up with a way to characterize the horse's microbiome. And then our goal was to do that because you need to know what's normal in a horse, what the microbiome is supposed to look like. And then you need to know, well, if it's not normal, what can we do? What are our tools? What kind of things could we do to fix that or affect that? So we've had to analyze a lot of bugs, a lot of different things to try to see if we could ever come up with anything that we could optimize into a product that actually, passed the test ride. So some of you listening may have sent in some samples. We did have got over 5,000 samples representing horses from newborn foals all the way to 31 years of age. We cover 15 different breeds at this point, and a nice group of mares, geldings, and a few stallions, and from all 50 states. And so without horse owners that have sent in their samples, we wouldn't be able to have amassed this database that's very unique and helped us develop to this point where we could actually characterize the core equine microbiome. And this is just a heat map. This is one way to show results of an analysis. And you can't read all those words. And honestly, neither one of us could probably pronounce most of those words if you could read them. But those are all different probiotics, and the ones in green are probiotics, and the ones that are circled in red there are actually pathogenic bacteria. And it really takes a balance of all of that. It's interesting. It's not as simple as you need to have no pathogens in there. In fact, there's some horses in unhealthy state or with dysbiosis that have not enough of a pathogenic bacteria. So it's kind of a weird deal that it's not just, we always hear these terms, good bugs versus bad bugs, and it's not quite that simple. It's about the balance and keeping everything. It's quite an orchestrated ecosystem. And so we're able to now look at, if you look at this heat map, the things in darker red or orange, they're the most prevalent. The ones in the lighter blue or green are the least prevalent. So there's a lot that we still don't know, but we know more than has ever been known before. So we have a really good handle on what the horse's general microbiome looks like. And what that has let us do is we develop this database we realized that, one, for a lot of horse owners who sent in, almost every horse owner who sent in a sample asked us what their results would be. Could we get results? And at the time, we didn't know enough information to give you results. But as we've done this work over the last several years, we've amassed enough information that we now have this test kit that you'll be able to test your own horse and learn what their unique microbiome is. And the use of this kit could be everything from, I would like to just have a base, kind of like knowing your horse's basic temperature, respiration, that kind of thing, just to know your horse's normal microbiome so that if something does go on, you could find out if the microbiome has changed. We have people who have horses who may have some kind of chronic perceived digestive issue, and doing this test, you could tell you whether the horse's microbiome is part of the problem or not. So this is going to be kind of fun. It's going to be very cool, and we're excited to be able to offer the ability to, this kit will tell how close your horse's microbiome is to, quote, normal, and it will also let you compare it to horses that are similar. You can compare it to different breeds or horses eating different things. So it's going to be an interesting thing, and you can check that out at the website mq.purinamills.com. So then, after we've been able to characterize this horse's microbiome, our next step was to analyze all these different probiotics. And what we have been able to do is, through looking at literature that's out there, and again, our own research, is begin to break these probiotics into different segments of what they do or what they have the potential to do. Some have more than one effect, some have only one effect, but we were sorting through all the bugs that were out there to come up with what might do something useful in the horse. And then as we did that and we began to categorize and go, well, it'd be kind of interesting to look at some of these that have anti-inflammatory properties or are good at digestive support. But then we got to that next step of, do they survive manufacturing? And we ran several common probiotics through some testing where we cultured them before pelleting, and then we cultured them again after pelleting. And the vast majority of the bugs that we tested, they were growing and alive before we sent them through pelleting, but the heat and the steam and the things that go on through a pelleting process, there was one bug that was able to withstand all that and continue to grow. If you look at those pictures on the right there, the plates on the left, these are Petri dishes, and you know, if you remember about bacteria, if the environment is good, they will grow. So, and if they're alive, so they have to be alive and the environment has to be good, and then they will grow, and they'll grow really fast. But a lot of these probiotics we tested, when you look at them after pelleting, they didn't grow. That clean plate on the lower right-hand corner, that means no live bugs left. And so that was part of the testing we had to go through, because we are going to pellet a lot of products for horses for a lot of reasons. And if they can't survive pelleting, that limits the use on some of them. And then the other thing we wanted to test was, do they survive the acid of the stomach? And so testing in horses' gastric juice, we found that, again, thankfully, the bug that survived pelleting was also very robust and survived the acidity of the stomach. Other bugs were a little less able to navigate through the acidity of the stomach and still remain alive and to be able to go do their function further down the track. So we had a bug that we were really happy with that could survive all those things. So then we wanted to compare the bugs that could survive the pelleting and the gastric juice, which ones did anything in the horse. And in this particular case, we put some horses through an exercise stress, or a pretty good exercise test. And it's normal to have inflammation or inflammatory markers increase after exercise. It's part of the natural process, and you don't want to completely wipe that out. But if you let these inflammatory markers, and in this graph, serum amyloid A is a common circulating inflammatory marker that's pretty reliable to use in horses. And we found that putting horses through a stressful exercise test did increase the inflammatory markers. But the horses that were fed that particular bug we had been testing so far performed much better than animals with the negative control, had no probiotics in it. But interesting, if you look at this graph, a lot of the other probiotics that we used performed just like nothing, like horses fed no additional probiotic, whereas we did see a reduction in this inflammatory marker. And this is just one graph. We tested multiple inflammatory markers and we saw similar results. So we were really excited to see that result. And then we wanted to look at GI support with these probiotics, and the bug we had been testing and that we continued to test actually did, when we put horses through a GI stress, we found that when they go through a GI stress, they do have an increase in inflammatory markers similar to when they go through a really hard exercise test. And we did cause some horses to have some digestive upset, which was evident in their manure. But the horses fed this particular probiotic were able to maintain their manure more close to normal than horses who didn't get it. And then when we took this product and we sent it out into the world, which is what we do when something works well in our research farm, we field test it in real horse farms out around the country. And we got feedback like this. You can see in this picture, this mare, she looks perfectly healthy and she's well taken care of, but she had a persistent issue with manure consistency. And the term they would use, she would paint the walls. And I guess you can see that in the picture. But after being on this particular probiotic, we were able to help her and some others as well correct that issue. And this is from an Arabian farm that they said that the horses all ate the probiotic really well, and that they noticed they were much more consistent in manure and had less gas and discomfort. So knowing that we were able to help horses through some exercise stress and some gastrointestinal stress made us really excited. Some additional feedback that we got from horse owners that tested the product for us, basically the improvements that they reported back to us were around either exercise recovery or gastrointestinal stress, sometimes both. So we had people report just horses being happier, taking less time to warm up, not being quite as stiff and tight, just a little more relaxed, a little happier horses to ride, especially after multiple days of being ridden or competed on. And then the gastrointestinal stress, the fecal consistency, or horses who had maybe had some intermittent diarrhea, or what you call the free fecal water, where they have the fluid coming down their tails and hind legs, that there was improvement in that. And so in our field study, 50% of the respondents had an improvement in performance, and over 60% had an improvement in fecal consistency. And again, not all horses had any issue with fecal consistencies or had issues with exercise to begin with. Some of the reports where I saw both benefits, some may have just reported one benefit or the other. But based on our research, we could tell that the way that this probiotic was helping maintain the horse's ability to handle these stressful events was really encouraging. So all that has led to the development of using that particular probiotic, which we found had a greater benefit than just digestive health. We found that it actually had a benefit throughout the horse, a systemic effect, if you will. So the name of the new product is Systemiq, with a Q at the end. And it is a pelleted, very palatable probiotic that is our first ability to show that we can work through our process and optimize what we know about the microbiome and what we've learned about probiotics in actual bugs to present one that is live and active, that it survives, that it's effective, that we have the research both at our research farm and very controlled science studies and also out in the field with real horse owners trying it on real horses. And we know that it's effective and protective, and it actually does pass the test ride. So we're really excited about this new product and to get it out on the market. And one way to look at this is that this is different. This isn't just your basic probiotic that's about just digestion. It's about more systemic effect on the horse. And this is one way we kind of look at it is, you know, when you're dealing with hardworking horses or sensitive horses, you're trying to balance out all the things that we need to do with them, from exercise to travel, the stress they go through, all these different things that can be challenging for these horses. And we try things with our veterinary care, our nutrition, various therapies, rest, all the things we try to keep them in balance. And you can just look at this product as one way to help tip the scales in your horse's favor and help them manage through all the things we need them to do. And so I'll wrap up with one more video here.
What if we told you there were more microorganisms living in your horse's body than your horse has cells? Inside your horse, in the gut microbiome, there's a thriving community of billions of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and other microorganisms, working together to keep your horse healthy. We've known that keeping this microbiome community in balance is critical for horse health and performance. But no one knew what it should look like until now. What if we could see inside the equine microbiome and untangle its mystery? For more than a decade, Purina Animal Nutrition has been researching the equine microbiome, sequencing thousands of equine DNA samples to determine the makeup of the microbial population, building an incredibly robust equine microbiome database with millions of data points to finally apply this knowledge to horse health. What if we could influence the microbiome and deliver game-changing benefits to horses? We researched countless strains of probiotic bacteria, put each one to the test, and measured the results in the lab and, most importantly, in the horse. One specific strain showed real promise to go beyond what we have traditionally thought a probiotic could do. And that strain became the live and active ingredient in Systemiq. But to unleash the true power of the Systemiq probiotic, we needed it to arrive alive, all the way to the hindgut. And it does. The proof is in the pellet, where we confirm that the Systemiq probiotic survives throughout the pelleting process. The proof is in the horse's stomach, where we find the Systemiq probiotic still alive, ready to move on to the hindgut and go to work. And the proof is in barns across the country, where horse owners are seeing results in post-exercise recovery and gastrointestinal health and comfort. What if the probiotic you fed your horse was targeted enough, powerful enough, alive enough to actually make a difference? What if it was Systemiq? Discover the power of Systemiq probiotic supplement at mq.purinamills.com.
So thank y'all for listening. Jasmine, I don't know if you or Angela, if we had any questions or comments, but as you can tell, we're really excited about this. This is a long time in the making. We've been working really hard on this and have seen some really good results.
Yeah, we're excited too.
Very excited. I have a few questions, if you don't mind. One, I think it's pretty interesting, and maybe you could just speak to it a minute. So from a research perspective in horses, basically this has never been done. Would that be fair to say, you know, singling out which bug is most prevalent and can do the most benefit in horses, like even in universities, et cetera? Would this be considered to be one of the biggest research projects with the most information harvested to know this information?
Yeah, I can tell you again, the Purina, our director of research, Mary Beth Gordon, put in, I mean, she got committed to this like a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And when you start looking at the research that was out there, there was some good research, but it was bits and pieces of things. And just our understanding of the horse's microbiome, I think, you know, I guess I look at it this way in some ways. Early on, it was like, well, maybe we need to take some probiotics that are naturally in your horse's gut and put more of them in there and see if we can help things. And again, bacteria, if the environment's right and if they have enough to eat and they're comfortable, they will reproduce. And sometimes I think that the approach before this study and before this research, the approach has been a little bit of like, you know, if you have a tsunami come through an area and it wipes everybody out, if the tsunami is still going on and you just start throwing more people in the mix, you don't repopulate an area and rebuild the city. You gotta make sure things calm down before you just start throwing the same people in there. And knowing, and just throwing 3 or 4 random types of people in there won't rebuild the whole city. So there's been a little bit of the idea of just adding some probiotics to a messed up system have not necessarily been as helpful as we had hoped. So we looked at it from a little different approach, and tried to figure out, because as the research progressed on some of these probiotics, it's not about just replacing the bugs that should naturally be in there. It's about finding the bugs who really do some pretty amazing, cool things. And that's the approach we've taken here. And we continue to do stuff. This isn't the end of the microbiome quotient. This is just the first release of what we've come up with and been able to come out with so far. But there's ongoing research, and we're looking forward to more and more interesting ways to try to help horses with specific challenges. I think that's what we're focusing on.
Sure. We deal with a lot of show horses around here, ones that are hauled around, rodeo horses, breeding horses, a lot of stress. So I think there's been a lot of talk of, hindgut ulcers or issues with the hindgut. And so if you would talk like a little bit, I know it's really hard to diagnose hindgut ulcers, or there is not a definitive way, the way I understand it, to diagnose them. But is this a cure? Is this a tool? Or like what do you guys consider this? Could it fix hindgut ulcers in theory? Or talk to us a little bit about that.
We don't have data to say that it could do that. I guess just logically for me, Angela, it's that protective part of maybe we can help that horse manage all those stresses and maybe reduce the inflammatory response to some of those stresses that might help us to prevent those ulcers from developing in the first place. Yeah. It's not a drug. It's not proven to cure anything at this point, but we've seen some really good response of horses. Well, one under research where we actually, we basically caused a digestive upset, and we could see how this helped horses manage through that. And then in the field trials where we saw some show horses that either got loose stools or went off feed or had more what people considered just, for lack of a better word, inflammatory responses to being hauled and worked hard at a show, and that these horses seemed to manage through that better when they were on this probiotic. There's been some really, really amazing responses, and honestly, I think every horse deals or has some of those issues show up differently. So I don't, it's not like this is not going to claim to make these horses, not going to make your horse jump higher or run faster. It's hopefully just going to make him more able to do that through all the things that we do with them, and maybe just have a better chance of keeping them on the rails, so to speak, instead of having them fall off in the ditch because they just got a little stressed or a little challenged, I guess, if you will. So I don't know if I answered that right. Again, hindgut ulcers are that's a big black hole.
No, for sure. I mean, for veterinarians, for horse show people, for everybody. So I wasn't expecting you to say, hey, it'll cure everything. In fact, I appreciate that you didn't say that, because there's all these supplements and people and everything that claim that it can do everything. But what I love about Purina, and what I love about when you guys launch something, you have research to back what it does do. And, we're improving the overall health of the horse. And I appreciate that. While we can't say, really, I don't know that anyone can say that you can cure hindgut ulcers, but what it is saying is we can provide all of these benefits that could either possibly lessen them, help in improving them, all of those sort of things. And I think that's a great answer, and a realistic answer, and a, one that we're proud to promote. And we know that it's backed by research. I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Then you start feeding the product. What is the average amount of time before, I know that it's because it's not a pharmaceutical and because it's systemic and nothing systemic happens in 2 days. I mean, I understand that. So when should a client who puts a horse on it that maybe has a chronic loose stool or is, got a weird stomach and chronic bellyache, something, when do you think how long is a fair amount of time to ask a client to put a horse on it before they start to see improvements in those sort of issues?
Yeah, really good question. In our field trial, well, one canister supply of it is a 30-day supply. So I would, I've got other products that we've done this with as well. I would say try one canister on one horse and give it, I would give it that 30 days. In the field trials, most of our responses came back about 2 weeks in that they saw the improvement.
Sure.
So you've got to give it a little bit of time. To your point, it's not like something that's going to happen tomorrow. And we have had some horses that have maintained after they went through. The trial was a 90-day trial, and then they were out of product. And we've had some that called in panic, like we really need to make sure we stay on it. So I think what we would say is, like, for me, for our horses that are continuously being shown and are hauled and competed on, and we're just going to keep them on it all the time.
Yeah.
But there are some horses with specific issues that have not shown back up after they went through the 90 days. So I think it's going to be a little trial. It should be a little bit of what you're dealing with and what you need to do for it. But yeah, just to answer your question, we recommend give it a good 10 days to 2 weeks. And I would say if you feed a canister and you're not seeing anything at all, should you try maybe one more canister? I don't know, but I wouldn't. I mean, I always tell people, if it's not doing anything for you, don't keep doing it. There's
makes sense to me. One other quick question. Sorry, I know I said that was my last one. The test kits I think are really interesting because I think we'd have a lot of clients that would be interested in having, a personal program, their horse evaluated and a personal program set for their horses. How will they get those kits? Like, where do they buy them from us? Are they in the mail, or how does it work?
Yeah, right now the kits, just because we've never done this before and we're just trying to figure some things out. Right now the kits are going to be just available online. So they'll come to the website. You guys will have a display in the store. You'll have a display that is to display the product, but it also has a tear pad with a QR code or a website on the display, and they can scan that, and you go on the website and you order your kit, and I think they're $199. I think that's right. But when you go on, you'll order your kit. They'll send a kit in the mail, and it's real easy. It's just almost like taking a temperature of your horse, taking a rectal temperature. That's how you get a fecal sample. You put the swab in, twist it, put it in the little container, mail it back. But you answer questions, because part of the whole database is knowing what your horse has been eating, how does he get pasture? Does he doesn't get pasture? Has he been sick? Has he been dewormed? Has he been in a trailer? It's funny how being in a trailer affects the microbiome. And anybody who's ever loaded a horse knows that, they generally go to the bathroom when you load them. So there's things that stress them. But so you do fill out this survey, and the whole process, once you get the kit, it takes about 10 minutes to fill out the survey on your phone or on your computer. Do your sample, put it back in the mailable, and the challenge is it takes a little bit of time to get the results back. So this isn't something like something's wrong with my horse on Tuesday and I need to know by Thursday if its microbiome is messed up, because it takes a while to do the DNA sequencing and then run it through all the bioinformatics. And so we're saying about a 6 to 8 week turnaround time. So it's more of a thing. If you had a horse with chronic issues and you've tried different things and nothing's really working, this would be a way to go, is this microbiome normal? If his microbiome's normal, maybe throwing random probiotics at him isn't the right route. Maybe there's something else you need to do. But or if it's we have had some cases where the test kit did reveal there's issues with the microbiome, and we made some adjustments in the diet and in the management, and often added the Systemiq, and we saw an improvement over time.
Awesome. Well, we're excited about it.
So yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Karen, for joining us again for this part 3 of this series. Again, if you haven't watched part 1 and 2, you might want to go do that. It kind of sets up this whole thing. If you have additional questions about the service, the product, your horse's feeding program, don't hesitate to reach out to us at DNL Farm and Home. We'd be happy to help you through that. And you can always also get more information at mq.purinamills.com.
Yeah.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you all.
Thanks for watching.